The night of my sister's wedding rehearsal dinner, I stood in the parking lot of the Birchwood Inn holding a casserole dish covered in foil, listening to the sound of laughter coming through the windows, and I told myself, this is the year things are different. I had driven 40 minutes in the rain. My husband Theo, wait, no. My husband Joel had offered to come with me, but I told him to stay home with our daughter. Maisie was 7 and had a cold, and I figured one of us needed to be there to make sure she actually ate dinner instead of just licking the spoon of whatever yogurt she could reach. I should back up. My name doesn't matter. What matters is that I am the older sister. The one who worked 2 jobs through community college, while my younger sister Renee got a full scholarship to a private university that my parents co-signed an apartment lease for. The one who showed up every holiday with a dish made from scratch, while Renee brought store-bought rolls and got thanked for contributing. The one who, for as long as I can remember, was treated like a guest in my own family. Someone they were vaguely pleased to see, but hadn't really accounted for. I had learned to fold that feeling down small and tuck it somewhere I didn't have to look at it. But then Renee got engaged to a man named Prescott. I am not joking, that is his actual name. And suddenly every family event became a Renee and Prescott production, and I was cast as a background extra who was also expected to do a significant portion of the catering. I didn't mind the cooking. I genuinely loved to cook. What I minded was what happened when I walked through the front door of the Birchwood Inn that Friday night in October, carrying a butternut squash gratin that I had been working on since noon. My mother opened the door. She looked at the dish. She looked at me. And then, in a voice so perfectly pleasant it almost didn't register as cruel, she said, "Oh, sweetheart. We actually moved the start time up. Dinner's almost over, but I'm sure we can find you a seat somewhere." Find you a seat somewhere. Like I was a stranger who had wandered in off the street. I stood there for a moment. Through the door I could see the long table set with candles and white linens, the family seated together, my dad at the head, Renee and Prescott side by side, Prescott's parents across from them, aunts and uncles I hadn't seen in years. There were name cards. I could see them from where I was standing. Little folded cards in calligraphy. I did not see one with my name on it. "I thought dinner was at 7, I said. "We moved it to 6:30. Didn't I text you?" She had not texted me. I know she had not texted me because I had been on my phone in the car checking for exactly that kind of last-minute change, the way I always do, the way I have been trained to do over years of being the one who shows up wrong. "No," I said, "you didn't." She made a small, sympathetic face. The kind that says what a shame and not my problem at the exact same time. "Well, come in, come in. We'll squeeze you in somewhere." I walked into the room holding my casserole dish, and I smiled at everyone who looked up, and I set the dish down on the side table where my mother pointed, and I sat in the chair she pulled out from along the wall. Not at the table, at the wall, like I was waiting for a delayed flight, and I watched my family finish a meal I had not been invited to. Prescott's mother, a tall woman named Vivian, leaned over at one point and said in a quiet voice, "Are you a friend of Renee's?" I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out strange and short and I covered it with a cough. "I'm her sister," I said. Vivian looked genuinely startled. She glanced at my mother. My mother was busy refilling Prescott's father's wine glass and did not look up. Here's the part that I keep coming back to. Here is the thing that I cannot unknot no matter how many times I turn it over. After dinner, while people were moving around and dessert was being laid out, I saw my mother pull Renee aside near the fireplace. They were laughing about something. Renee leaned her head on my mother's shoulder. That easy, comfortable lean of someone who has never had to wonder whether she belongs, and my mother pressed a kiss to her hair. I have a memory from when I was 9 years old. A school project, family portrait in art class. I drew my parents, my sister, myself. The teacher asked who everyone was, and when I got to myself I said, "That's me. I live there too." The teacher thought it was funny, precocious. She told my mother at pickup. My mother also thought it was funny. I'm not sure I was joking. I left the rehearsal dinner early. I told my mother I had to get back to Maisie, and she nodded without really looking at me and said, "Drive safe," and that was that. In the car I called Joel. He answered on the second ring because he always answers on the second ring, which is one of the things I love about him, this small, dependable thing. "How was it?" he asked. I didn't say anything for a second. "They moved the dinner time," I said. "Didn't tell me. I got there after everyone had eaten." Silence. There was no name card for me at the table. More silence. "Joel." "I'm here," he said. "I'm right here." I pulled into a gas station parking lot and sat there for a few minutes in the dark. I was not going to cry. I had decided a long time ago that I was not going to let my family make me cry anymore, and I had gotten reasonably good at it, mostly. "Maisie still awake?" I asked. "She went down about an hour ago. Ate half a bowl of soup and told me her throat felt like sandpaper. That sounds like her." "Come home," she said. "Just come home." I went home. The wedding was the following afternoon, which didn't leave a lot of time for processing. I woke up early and drove to the venue to help set up, because I had been asked to handle the floral arrangements for the ceremony space. 42 centerpieces, which I had spent the better part of the previous week assembling in my garage, with my knees on a folded towel, and my back slowly filing a formal complaint against me. I want to be clear. I did not do this because I was trying to earn my place. I did it because when Renee asked me, 8 months earlier, if I could help with the flowers, her voice had that particular quality that younger sisters' voices get. The one that sounds like hope, and also like she might not expect you to say yes. And I could not say no to it. I am constitutionally unable to say no to it. This is a known flaw. I arrived at the venue at 9 in the morning. By 11 I had all 42 arrangements in place. By noon I had gone back to the car, changed into my dress, fixed my hair in the visor mirror, and was sitting in the third row of the ceremony chairs. Not the family section, which had reserved signs on it, but the row behind, where Vivian's assistant kept steering me when I tried to sit closer. Family's up front, she said, gesturing toward the reserved section. I am family, I said. She looked uncertain. She looked at her clipboard. She looked back at me. Your name? I told her. She scanned the list. Once, twice. I'm not seeing, I'm the bride's sister, I said. I kept my voice level. I had a lot of practice keeping my voice level. I made the centerpieces. She looked at the clipboard a third time, like my name might materialize if she stared at it long enough, and then she smiled the practice smile of someone who is deeply uncomfortable and needs this interaction to end. Let me just check with the coordinator, she said. She walked away and did not come back. I sat in the third row. Joel arrived 20 minutes later with Maisie, who was wearing the dress we'd picked out together. White eyelet with little yellow flowers, which she had initially described as itchy but pretty, and then upgraded to mostly okay. She climbed over my lap to sit next to me, pressed her face against my shoulder, and whispered, Mama, where's your seat? Right here, Bug, I said. This is my seat. She looked at the row of reserved chairs 6 feet in front of us. Why aren't you up there? You're Auntie Renee's sister. Out of the mouths of 7-year-olds. It's a long story, I said. Am I going to understand it when I'm older? I pressed my lips together to keep from smiling and also from crying, and also from some third emotion I didn't have a name for. Maybe, I said, we'll see. The ceremony was beautiful. I will say that. Renee was glowing in the exact way that brides in movies are glowing, which I had always assumed was a myth. But it is apparently real. And she walked down the aisle on my father's arm with this expression on her face. Like she was the only person in the room, and also like she knew it and didn't mind. She looked like herself, turned up to full brightness. I was happy for her. I want that to be clear. I was genuinely happy for her. None of what I felt about my family was about Renee. During the vows, Maisie reached over and took my hand. She had no idea why. She was probably just bored. But she held my hand through the whole ceremony. Her small warm fingers wrapped around mine. And I focused on that, instead of the empty chair in the family row that no one seemed to notice was empty. The reception was held in a glass pavilion on the property. Joel found our table, which was near the back, near the door to the kitchen, at the table that clearly existed, because the venue had an odd number of 6-person tables, and one of them needed to be partially filled. My great-aunt Dottie was at our table. She was 91, sharp as a tack, and had been brought in a wheelchair from a nursing facility 2 hours away by her granddaughter, who dropped her off and left. Dottie introduced herself to Joel by saying, I know who you are. I've been watching you for 3 years. You're good people, which I found both comforting and slightly concerning. Why are we back here? She asked me, looking toward the rest of the room. I think it's just how the tables worked out, I said. She gave me a long look. The kind of look that very old people give you when they know you're lying, but they've decided not to push it. Your grandmother would not have stood for this, she said. I know. She would have rearranged the whole room. I know, Aunt Dottie. She picked up her fork. Hand me that bread, she said. I handed her the bread. The first hour of the reception passed the way these things do. Speeches I couldn't hear well from where we were sitting. A first dance that was partially blocked by a pillar. A toast from Prescott's best man that was very long and included 3 separate anecdotes I didn't have the context to follow. Maisie ate a breadstick and declared the salmon suspicious. Joel poured me a glass of wine without being asked, which is the marital equivalent of an act of love. My mother had not come to say hello. My father had stopped by for approximately 90 seconds to squeeze my shoulder and tell me the flowers looked beautiful, and then he was swept back to the main table by the gravitational pull of the event itself, or possibly of my mother. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Then another. Then it started ringing. I almost didn't answer. I glanced at Joel, who nodded toward the door. Go. It's okay. I slipped out through the kitchen exit and answered, standing on a loading dock next to a stack of folded tablecloths. It was my great-aunt Dottie's granddaughter, the one who had dropped her off. No, wait. That's not right. Let me tell you who it actually was. It was my grandmother, not my mother's mother. She passed years ago, my father's mother, Nana Cecile. 83 years old. Lives in a bungalow 40 minutes north of here. Has not attended a family function in 3 years because of what she refers to as the unpleasantness, which is a whole other story. I heard, she said, without preamble. I heard about last night. I gripped the phone. How did you? Vivian called me this morning. Prescott's mother. We've been in touch, she and I. She was disturbed by what she saw. I didn't say anything. She said you didn't have a seat at the table. She said you didn't have a name card. She said you were sitting against the wall like someone who wandered in off the street. Nana Cecile's voice was very quiet and very even in the way that I have learned means she is angrier than she is allowing herself to sound. Is that accurate? I started. Is that accurate? Yes, the silence on the line was the kind that has weight. And tonight, she asked, where are you sitting? In the back, I said, near the kitchen. Another silence. I need you to go back inside, she said. I need you to sit at your table and eat your dinner, and keep your daughter calm, and I need you to give me 45 minutes. Nana, 45 minutes. Can you do that? I looked at the stack of tablecloths. I looked at the parking lot beyond the loading dock. I thought about the 42 centerpieces I had assembled on my knees in my garage. Yes, I said. "'Kay." I went back inside. I told Joel something was happening, but I didn't know what yet. He nodded and refilled my wine and didn't ask any follow-up questions, which is exactly the right response and also why I married him. 38 minutes later, the door to the pavilion opened. Nana Cecile does not use a cane. She says she doesn't need one, which is probably 90% true and 10% stubbornness. But the effect when she walks into a room is that she does it with her full height and her full attention, and absolutely nothing apologetic about her. She was wearing the navy dress she wears to every significant occasion, the one with the small pearl buttons down the front, and she had her reading glasses pushed up on top of her head, like she had been in the middle of something, and decided this was more important. My mother saw her first. I watched the color change in my mother's face from across the room, watched her stand up from the table, watched her start to move toward the door with a smile that was supposed to look like welcome and mostly looked like controlled alarm. "Cecile, we didn't know you were." "Sit down," Nana Cecile said. Not loud. She didn't need to be loud. The table went quiet. Then the tables around it. Nana Cecile walked through the room and knew exactly where everything was, and she stopped in the center of the space, and she looked around at the room. At the family table. At our table near the kitchen door. At the empty chairs that had been family section. At the ceremony that no one had thought to put my name on. Then she turned to Vivian, who was sitting at the family table next to her husband, and she said, "Thank you for calling me." Vivian said, "Of course." My mother said, "Mother, what is?" I said, "Sit down." I realized I was holding Maisie's hand again. Or she was holding mine. I couldn't tell which of us had reached for the other. Nana Cecile looked at the room. She had spent 50 years as a family law mediator before she retired, which is relevant context. "I am going to say this once," she said, "and I am not going to say it again, and I want everyone at this wedding to hear it clearly." The room was very quiet. My granddaughter drove 40 minutes in the rain last night to bring food to a dinner she was not given a seat at. She made 42 flower arrangements for this wedding on her own time and her own money, which she was asked to do and agreed to because she is generous, and she was placed at a table near the kitchen, with no explanation and no acknowledgement. She paused. She has been treated this way for a long time. I have watched it happen, and I did not say enough. And that is something I will have to carry. My mother made a sound. "I am not finished," Nana Cecile said. My mother closed her mouth. "I had my attorney on the phone for the last half hour. I had intended to divide my estate evenly among my grandchildren when the time comes. I have amended those intentions. My primary bequest will now go to my granddaughter, in recognition of who she is and what she has quietly given to this family for years without being asked to stop." The silence was the loudest thing I had ever heard. My father had gone very still. My mother's expression had done something complicated that I was not sure I had words for. Renee, my sister the bride, was looking at me from across the room, and I want to tell you that she looked angry or triumphant about something, or any of the things that would make this story simpler, but she didn't. She looked like someone who had just seen something true, that she had been not quite looking at for a long time, and the seeing of it was not comfortable. She wasn't angry at me. I could tell that. I don't know how to explain how I could tell. Nana Cecile walked across the room to our table. She sat down in the empty chair next to Aunt Dottie, who reached over and patted her hand without a word, like she had been expecting this. "Hello, Dottie," Nana Cecile said. "You took longer than I thought," Dottie said. "I had to find parking." Maisie tugged my sleeve. I leaned down. "Is that your grandma?" she whispered. "Yes," I said. "Is she in trouble?" I laughed, actually laughed, quiet and surprised. "No, Bug, she's not in trouble." Maisie considered this. "She seems like someone who doesn't get in trouble," she said. "She seems like someone else gets in trouble." Out of the mouths of 7-year-olds. The wedding went on. That is the strange thing about these moments. Life continues its choreography regardless. The cake was cut, the music started. People found their way to the dance floor or away from it. Prescott's best man made another long toast that I still didn't follow. But something had shifted. The room had a different center of gravity. My father came to our table. He sat down across from me and he didn't say anything for a long time. Just looked at the tablecloth, and then he said, "I didn't know she wasn't going to have you at the table last night. I want you to know that." I looked at him. "I should have noticed," he said. "I should have noticed a long time ago." There is a difference between someone telling you what they should have done, and someone doing it. I know that. I am not naive. But there was something in his face when he said it that was not performance, and I have spent my whole life learning to read my father's face, so I will take that for what it is. "Okay," I said. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know," I said. He stayed for a while. He talked to Joel about something, I don't know what. He let Maisie show him a card trick she had been practicing. One she had not yet gotten quite right, and he acted like she had done it perfectly, which is the correct thing to do. Renee came to our table near the end of the night. She was still in her dress, still glowing, though softer now, the brightness turned down to something more human. She sat across from me and she said, "I didn't know about last night either, the time change." "I know," I said, "and I did." That one I actually believe. I'm sorry about the diseases. Tonight. I should have checked. I assumed. She stopped. I assumed things were handled and I didn't check. I looked, always had the same eyes. We have always had the same eyes, which is the kind of thing that matters more than it should. I'm not angry at you, I said. Because I wasn't. I really wasn't. Are you angry at Mom? I thought about the wall chair at the rehearsal dinner, the missing name card, the smile that said what a shame and not my problem. Yes, I said, a little. Renee nodded slowly. I think I need to think about some things, she said. You just got married, I said. You don't have to think about anything tonight. She almost smiled. Nana really just. She really did. In front of Prescott's whole family, and your friends from college, and the venue staff. Renee put her face in her hands, and then she started laughing. And after a second I started laughing too, both of us sitting in the back of the pavilion near the kitchen door, while the music played, and the evening wound itself down around us. The flowers were really beautiful, she said, when we'd stopped. Thank you, I said. I worked hard on them. I know you did. That was it, that was the conversation. It was not everything, and it did not fix everything, and there will be more conversations ahead, harder ones where I will have to say things I have been folding down small and tucking away for years. But it was a start. It was the first sentence of something. Nana Cecile left at 9:30. She had a 40-minute drive and she does not like driving in the dark, a concession to age that she will admit only indirectly. She came to say goodbye to me at the table and she held both my hands in hers, and she looked at me for a long moment. I should have done this years ago, she said. You did it tonight, I said. That will have to be enough. It is, I said. It really is. She squeezed my hands. She said goodbye to Maisie, who told her she was the coolest old person she had ever met, which Nana Cecile received as the compliment it absolutely was. On the drive home, Maisie fell asleep in her car seat within 6 minutes. Joel reached over and put his hand over mine on the center console, and I turned my hand over so our palms were together. And I watched the streetlights pass, and I thought about the 42 centerpieces, and the parking lot gas station, and the empty name card holder, and the sound of Nana Cecile's voice in a quiet room, saying, I am not finished, I am not fixed. I want to be clear about that too. The patterns that built my family do not disappear in one evening, not even an evening like this one. There will be holidays ahead that will be uncomfortable, conversations that will not go the way I hope, moments where I will wonder if anything has really changed. But here is what I know. My daughter held my hand through a ceremony that did not save me a seat, and she did it because that is who she is, which means that is at least partly who I have made her. My husband drove 40 minutes to sit near a kitchen door, and he did it without complaint, because he would follow me to much worse places than this. And I know that down to my bones. And my grandmother walked into a room full of people and said, out loud, in front of everyone, what had been true for years but had never been said. You do not always get to choose the shape that love takes. But sometimes, if you are very lucky, someone who loves you chooses it for you. Maisie stirred in the back seat as we pulled onto our street. Mama, she said, half asleep, did Nana Cecile fix it? I looked at the dark front of our house. The porch light on, the way we always leave it. She started it, I said. We'll do the rest. She was asleep again before we pulled into the driveway.